Hi, good afternoon. My name's Suzanne. I'm one of the support accountants here at FreeAgent, and with me today on the flight deck is my colleague Em. Em will answer any queries that you have as we go through the session today. Alright, now you can see that I'm logged in to my Taste account. This is my UK Limited Company account, and the unique identifier for this account is up here in the URL, and it is Susie at the top here. This means I know I'm working in the right account. Perhaps you've got one or two or multiple FreeAgent accounts. What we're going to do today is work along the tabs, the horizontal tabs at the top here. But before we do that, let's have a look at my name at the top right hand corner, and you'll see if I hover here, there's a drop down list appears with a couple of options here. This is where I'll find my FreeAgent subscription invoices under billing, or where I can change my card details. I'll find my unique referral here that I can pass on and spread the good word of FreeAgent. And any files that I've attached, say perhaps a copy of my terms of business, I'll find in this area too. Let's have a look at in a bit more detail under the settings here. Now, settings are just what they say on the tin. This is where you would enter your company details, upload your powerful logo, etc. If you click on users here, you can see I've got a number of users in my FreeAgent account. There's no extra cost to add a new user, so please don't share logins. If someone needs access to your account, then please use the green button in here and add them as a new user. It's fairly self-explanatory. You fill in the fields as required. If this isn't someone that you're going to payroll, you perhaps wouldn't put in the national insurance number, but if you do populate these fields, then they'll pull through to the payroll area in the app for you too. You choose the role of the individual, and importantly, you then choose the level of access that you wish them to have in your account. And you would create that new user at the bottom. Now we can go back to settings again at the drop down here, or if you prefer, you can click to the left hand side and choose. You've got all the same options under settings in the drop down here. The next one I'd like to look at are the accounting dates. Now I've been using this account for quite some time now, but you can see that the company and the FreeAgent start date were both the same date. Now, if that's the case, you would expect your FreeAgent account to be a blank page. There'd be no opening balance in the bank. All of the transactions would be entered from that date, the 4th of September in 2011. If, however, you've been trading for some time and you're moving over to FreeAgent, then the company start date would perhaps be 2011 and the FreeAgent start date the 1st of September 2017. If that's the case, that's absolutely fine, nothing wrong with that. But please don't be tempted to put in any data in FreeAgent. No bank transactions, don't create any invoices dated before the date you choose as your FreeAgent start date. All other historical data would need to be entered in the form of opening balances. Now I've got our web page opened here. Let me show you where to find some information on that. If you go to our homepage, freeagent.com, click on support, knowledge base I was after, and getting started. And there's some really useful articles in here. They're short and snappy, they're not great big long pages, and it's really worth having a look at these about accounting dates, your FreeAgent start date, and opening balances to help you get up and running. There, so that's where you would put your dates. There's too much to look at under the settings tab in the time we have today, but one other one I'd like to take a peek at briefly are the email templates. I love this feature in FreeAgent. What you can do here are set up your email templates, and then you can do all your invoicing, say, on the 3rd Friday of each month, set them up in FreeAgent, and FreeAgent will send them out automatically at the end of the month to your customer for you. Because let's face it, you don't want to forget to actually invoice your customer for the good work or services you provided. Again, this is self-explanatory. You choose an email address from the drop-down, and you can use a generic one too if you prefer. Personally, I would always send a copy to the sender so that I know that FreeAgent sent the invoice out. And then the rest of the template here, you can use the email tags on the right. If we take the online payment link as an example, you have to highlight the whole thing, include the brackets, copy that, and then paste it into the appropriate field or into the body of the email here. You get the idea, and you build up and put your message in there that you want to send with the invoice. And I'll show you how the payment link looks actually further on in the session, so that you hopefully ease or speed up your cash flow, and you can see how your customer can pay the invoice that you've sent. I'll leave you to have a look at these other areas under settings at your leisure. Before we go back to the overview, once you're logged into your account, doesn't matter what page you're on, if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see the sort of broad band here, and you can see support access. If you contact us here at FreeAgent, we may well ask you to enable access, and that's where you would do that. Mine access is enabled here, so I don't want to disable. And we would also ask you to generate a code. Also at the bottom here, we have the contact details for the team in support. Please do feel free to get in touch. And we have the knowledge base here. And you could type in, say for example, you wanted to add a user, just type in the keyword, search for that, and the article will pop up in a new page in your browser for you. Okay, let's close that down and let's go back to our overview screen in the account. Smashing. And what we'll do is now we'll just work our way along the tabs here at the top. Now there's lots of really useful information on the overview page itself. You can customise this, move the tabs around to wherever you want them to be. My favourite one is this profit and loss and tax timeline, so I keep that at the top here. Anything throughout the app, when you hover over it and it turns blue, is a hyperlink, so you can click on that and get more info. So you can see here when the PAYE payment's due to the revenue and when my VAT return's due for submission. If I want to find out more detail about that return, if I click on the hyperlink, you see that the tab jumps over here to taxes and VAT, and I can see the return in front of me. And again, that's the same throughout the app. If I wanted to upload a bank statement, I can do that from the tab here. I can go to banking and do it from there. Or another handy little tip I find is if you use the quick links at the right hand side here, and I can upload a statement from there. The next tab along is contacts. In FreeAgent, both your customer and your supplier all live in the same place in this contacts tab. You can add a new one with the green button to the right hand side. And again, throughout your account, if it's possible to add something new, then you'll find the green button at the right hand side of the page there. And you just fill in the required information. It might be easier for you to import your contacts, and there's a variety of options to choose there. And then once your contacts are in, you can view them either as these handy little business cards or as a list. Whichever option you choose there, you have the same information. You can see if there are any active projects. You can edit from the summary screen. You can choose to view them by letter. You can see how much the customer owes you or you owe them, perhaps, if they're a supplier. And then when you click into the contact screen itself, you can see how much you've actually invoiced this particular contact and how much they owe. The contact details are at the side, and you can edit these with the button at the top. And if for any reason you no longer deal with this particular customer, you can mark them as hidden. You have all the tabs along here which show you the items relating to this particular contact. And the statement of account's really handy too. You can view by date, show all transactions, or show open and overdue items only. Under the Work tab, you can create an estimate. And you can see I've got estimates in different statuses here. Some are still in draft, some approved, some invoiced. If you have a look at one that's open, it's been sent or marked as sent, this one. I can resend it any time, and that's the same with the invoice too. I can mark that as approved or convert it directly as an invoice. Also under the Work tab, if we go to the right hand side here, we'll have a quick look at recurring invoices first. Again, there's a familiar green button to add a new one. And the recurring profiles, you can show active, draft, or all profiles, etc. And that means if I have like a regular invoice to a customer, say for £100 a month for services provided, I can set that up to go out. FreeAgent will create that automatically, and I can either choose to create it and then send it manually, or create it and ask FreeAgent to send it out for me. Now under the Work tab, I can track some time, and we'll look at that in just a second. I can create an invoice from here. I don't have to go through the projects area, but I want to show you how the projects work, so I'm going to show you the invoice from there instead. Again, add a new project to the side with the button. And if you're familiar with Basecamp, you can use that to import your projects too. I've got a project set up here already though that I'd like to have a wee look at today. Again, the contact details at the right hand side. I have the option at the right to add either an estimate, invoice, etc. to this particular project. And again, another feature which I really love is the mini project profitability tab, which you can see here. You can see at a glance easily how much you've actually invoiced a particular client and how much profit you've made with this particular job. I've got more than one project on this contact too, and it shows me a mini project profitability tab there separately too. The The tabs, just as similar to contacts along the top, show you the different areas within the particular project. Let's have a look at tasks and time first. I said I would come back to time. Tasks and time go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. You can create all your tasks initially, or you can create them as you go along as you're entering the time. There are 3 ways in FreeAgent to record your time. You can do it with the green button at the right hand side, and that'll create the time slips individually for you. You can also go to time tracking and create time slip weekly, and that could save you some time there hopefully. And last but not least, and again this is a lovely little feature here, you can use a timer. Now if you watch at the top here, when I start the timer, you can see it started running. Now I can have multiple timers running, and if I was out on a job and had a timer running on the particular job or project I was working on, my colleague could also go in and log in and set another timer running for the amount of work they're spending too. I'm going to pause these for now. If you bear with me a second, I'm just going to get rid of them because otherwise I have time slips running forever and ever in my account. There we are. Let's get rid of that. So you get the idea of the 3 ways to record the time. We'll pop back to the Friday morning project, and I've got some time that's still waiting to be billed. I think I've got some on the second project too, and you'll see that when I pull it through to the invoice. Now what you can also do in a project, you can record the costs of running your business. Now there are 3 ways to record costs in FreeAgent. There is an out-of-pocket expense, which is where you use your own money and the company is due you that back. You can record a supplier bill if you've ordered something from a supplier and you don't have to pay them for say 30, 60 days. And last but not least, you record the transactions in your business bank account or credit card as well, perhaps a PayPal account. So they are the 3 ways of recording the costs. What I'm going to do though, I'm going to show you how to add on an expense here, and you'll see that jumps to my money expenses. Now this is an out-of-pocket expense, one where I've used my personal money and the company needs to pay me that back at some point in the future. So I leave the name, or I could choose one or the other from the drop down. It's a payment, and I've got a whole list of categories here to choose from. And remember, the wee arrow there shows you that there's more to follow if you need to scroll down. Let's keep this nice and simple today, though. We'll say that I bought some stationery and say that we bought it. There we go. And I can record this in a number of currencies, but again, I'm going to keep it nice and simple in GBP this afternoon. Say that I spent £100, and I'll leave the auto on the VAT, though I can type in the amount as well if I needed to. I'll leave you to have a look at the easy implications of VAT at your leisure. And then say we type in here that we bought some pens. Now this is the part I wanted to show you here. Is this a project expense? Yes, it is. I bought these for the project Friday morning under the contact at new, and I would like to rebill these, and there are my options to do that. I'm going to say it at a specific price of £150. And last but not least, I can scan or take a photograph on my mobile and upload the receipt for the pens against the transaction. It'll sit nicely at the right hand side here, and my accountant will love that, because when it comes to submitting the VAT return at the end of the quarter, or to check, the items for the annual accounts at the year end, then everything's within the app. You don't have to go raking through for the receipt. And then you would create this here, or create and add another. Fab. Let's just pop back to the project again, and this time we're going to create an invoice. Now I'm creating this within the project, so FreeAgent's cleverly pre-populated all of these for me because it knows I'm within this contact with this project here. I'm going to include the second one though, and I'm going to pull through everything that's outstanding at the moment for both projects. I'll leave estimates, there's nothing there to pull through there. FreeAgent will create this invoice using the next invoice number in sequence for me. And I'm going to send this out on the 31st, which is the agreement I made with the customer. 14-day payment term. And again, I'm going to leave the currency in sterling for now. Now there's the online payment options that you saw under the settings tab for the email template. As well as PayPal, which I think most people are probably familiar with, we also have the options to integrate with Stripe and Go Cardless, and you could have all 4 sitting on your account here if you had integrated these in your FreeAgent account. Again, I'll leave you to have a look at the CIS categories at your leisure. Now, if you are looking in your account, it may well be that as you scroll down the page, the more options looks like this, where the arrow has truncated the options below. So what you do, click on the arrow, and I'm going to ask FreeAgent to email this out for me on the 31st. I'm going to leave it as my business current account, though. If it was a euro invoice, I might want to make that show the euro account details. And let's create this new invoice. And there you are, you'll see it uses the same template as the estimate. Currently, the invoice is in draft. And I see the option to schedule to send, not to email out or to mark as sent, because I've set it ahead, to be configured to be sent on the 31st of August. I can override that at any time, though, by clicking on the send by email. Now you can see the items for the 2 projects under the individual headings on the invoice now. So that's one way to rebill items and pull them through onto your invoice. You've got a couple of other options. You can use your price list, and this is great, really handy, save you a lot of time here. And again, you can create the price list in advance under the settings tab, or you can add them as you go along. Or you could manually choose the items you want to add. So I could say perhaps services here, like so. You get the idea. Once I'm happy with the invoice, that all the details and information are on there, I can then schedule that to send. And if I go now to my work and invoicing tab, or click on invoices here, I can view the invoices in a variety of ways, and I can look at the ones which are scheduled to email, and we can see the one we've just created sitting ready to go out on the 31st, and it'll tell me who it's going to email that to. Let me have a quick search for an invoice to show you how the online payment looks. There we go on this one here. So when your customer receives the email from you, they'll click on the link in the body of the email, and that's how the invoice will look with the button to pay. Great. I'm going to leave you to have a look at the bills area at your leisure. It's fairly straightforward and very similar options to the out-of-pocket expense. If we look at My Money now, the second option here is dividends. If you are the director of a limited company and you pay yourself a dividend, then you can explain that money out of the bank as money paid to user, dividend payment, and FreeAgent will deal with all the necessary postings to your account and also prepare the dividend voucher for you. The My Money tab really houses everything to do with a user on the account, whether that be you or an employee. So anything to do with money in or out, you'll find under the My Money tab here, and that's how you would explain it out of the bank as well. Money either paid to a user or received from a user. There are 2 here relating to payroll. The salary tab shows you the individual sort of history for each individual. So for example, this is where you would find the P60 for an earlier tax year, or if your employee leaves, that's where you'd find the P45 as well. So under the salary tab there, not under payroll. The payroll tab is where you do all the processing of your payroll. This is where you create the new payroll profiles for each of your employees by adding them here. This is also where you would continue and edit the payroll if you had to. FreeAgent's payroll defaults each month to the 25th, but I had actually set this one up to go to 29th today. So please be aware of that you have to edit that payslip date if you don't pay your employees on the 25th of each month. You can edit the payslips at this stage, like so, and you can see where the employment allowance is claimed, etc. Payroll's a huge feature within the app. It's monthly payroll, RTI, that we support, and you can file that directly to HMRC. There's too much for us to look at today though, but again, let me just point you quickly to where to find that in our knowledge base. Under the heading All Categories here, as you can see, they're listed, and if you look at payroll, it gives you the articles here, and again, that should help you get up and running with that in your own account. The next area we come to is banking. Now, I've got a number of accounts on here. You should add all of the accounts that you use relating to your business onto your FreeAgent account, because what you're doing, you're reflecting in FreeAgent what's happening in reality. So if you deal with cash, if you have a petty cash tin, you should add that on. If you're using a credit card, you should have that added, etc. And you can have multiple currency accounts on here as well. We support feeds with a number of banks. One of them is direct with Barclays, and the others are through our partner Yodlee. If you'd like to enable the feed, you click on the Enable Feed button, type in the name of your bank or choose from the options we've given below, and follow the process to set that up. Once it's enabled, the feed, it'll pull in transactions from that date, and then it'll pull through for you. You still have to reconcile your accounts, but it'll hopefully save you a bit of time there. But you should still check it on a regular basis. It does still need a human eye. You don't have to enable the feed, though, as I say, it should hopefully save you some time, but you can manually upload the statements, and you may have to do that as well in order to play catch up. If your FreeAgent account says the 1st of April and you're only setting up the feed today, you might need to go back and upload them, and there's the button to do that there. Or you could do it from the overview, remember, that we looked at briefly. Whichever way you do that, whether you upload the statements or have enabled a feed, when they come in, they'll show either in red, if they're as unexplained, or if you've clicked on the guest transactions, they'll come in amber. It's like a traffic lights system. And then once the transactions are explained, then they'll show green. So let me show you how to do a couple here. This is for an invoice that the customer's paid me. However, I know that there have been some fees deducted for this, so this isn't the invoice I need to pay or show as paid. I want to show this one as paid, and the total value of that was £630. So I'm going to change the value here. Now don't be frightened to do that, because you'll see in a second, I've changed the amount so the invoice is paid in full. The customer paid me in good faith. And then FreeAgent creates this money out transaction so that the amount of money actually coming into the bank balances, if you like, so that the running total is correct. I can then explain that as a payment to bank charges, like so. Now, I mentioned how you would explain money in and out to a user on your account. Here's how you would explain the salary to someone, for example. We would call that money paid to user. Make sure we're paying the correct individual. And there are the options for money out to a user on your account. And another really useful feature, which I love, if you click the tick box here, can you see the box changes at the right hand side? There we go, and I can explain that as a payment. If they're both to the same category, I can explain that to, for example, mobile phone, and explain. And you can do the same with the money in entries as well, to sales. Okay, I'll leave you to have a look at the rest of those at your leisure. And then you get the idea though, once you've explained all these, then everything turns green. The next tab along takes us to taxes. Now, self-assessment, if you're the director again of your limited company, or if you're a sole trader, then you can file your return directly through your FreeAgent account, provided we support the pages that you need. And you can see the pages at the right-hand side here. This will look slightly different, remember, if you're looking at your sole trader account. We prepare a ballpark corporation tax figure for you, and I'll leave you to have a look at that at your leisure. You can then use that as the sort of starting point to file your corporation tax return at the end of the year online with HMRC. The pay by NNI relates obviously to the payroll, and then we have VAT. And this is the third area where you can actually file directly to HMRC through your FreeAgent account. So we have payroll, monthly payroll, RTI, your self-assessment for a director of a limited company or a sole trader, and you can also file your quarterly returns, your VAT returns, directly to HMRC. Now, we support both invoice and cash accounting for VAT and the flat rate scheme. I want to show you something just to give you an idea. We'll look at the most recent one. At the right hand side here, you'll see the dates covered in the period, the scheme, the calculation basis, etc. And you can edit the individual VAT return if you need to. Say, for example, you were going on to the flat rate scheme, you can change that there. Those of you familiar with VAT will recognise the green form here, the summary form with the boxes filled in. And these are the numbers that go straight to HMRC. Before you file that, please do check the full report though. We need to know where the numbers are coming from. And if you click on the full report here, you can see the VAT charged items listed and also reclaimed. And again, these are all hyperlinks, so you can click in and make any corrections perhaps that you need to, or see where the figures are actually coming from. I don't see the button to file just yet because I've still got some bank transactions to explain. So once I go back and do that, I'll be able to file this directly to HMRC. Now, last but not least, we have accounting reports and journal entries. I'll leave you to look at the journal entries at your leisure. These are perhaps maybe something that your accountant would use more than you. And then the reports. Here is where you'll find your profit and loss, balance sheet, etc. You can view the reports on a monthly basis, as you can see, and also annually. Again, you can click to see where these numbers have come from. And that takes you a different report, as you see, to the show transactions. That's a really handy one, actually. And again, you can click into these all individually as well. And you can export the reports in a variety of formats too. Okay, I think that's about all we have time for this afternoon. I hope you found that useful. The questions that you have been answered now, and we've covered some of those areas for you. If there's anything you're still unsure about, please do pop over to our knowledge base. There's some really useful information there. And again, you can look at the actual articles themselves, or you can type in a buzzword in here as well. And search for it that way. If you don't find what you're looking for, please don't hesitate to get in touch. We're here to help, and you can find our contact details on our webpage too. Okay, Emily and I would like to thank you very much for your time today and wish you a good Tuesday. Okay, thanks for that. Bye-bye.